Welcome to One Shot on Frame. I'm Jason Davis. This episode is Herculez Gomez, former U.S. international, a guy who went to a World Cup, played in Major League Soccer and Liga MX. This is an incredible conversation with Herc. We get into his origin story, going back to Las Vegas, playing as a ringer in adult leagues, backed by restaurateurs, businessmen in the community. Talk about his time in San Diego, how that led to his time with the LA Galaxy, the frustration of Major League Soccer and how much they paid back in the day. Talk about Herc's new gig, currently as part of ESPN's team, and one of the guys you see on Football America is with Sebastian Salazar talking about the sport in North America every week. Great conversation with Herculez Gomez. If you like what you hear here, then make sure you go over, subscribe, do all the things necessary to support the show. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for watching. All right, Herc. This is the photo. I'm going to tell you what I see, and then you tell me what this is. I mean, I see you. I see you there. Looks like you got a camcorder in your hand. I might have to ask about that a little bit later. Where is this? Where's this happening?
So this is Estadio Azteca, and those are my two of my best friends growing up. The one to my immediate right in the middle is Jimmy Vargas. Jimmy Vargas, and the one next to him is Jimmy Dominguez. So I grew up with both these. So Jimmy Vargas and I actually played soccer together from when I was like 9 years old till I want to say 18, around there.
Wow.
Yeah, same club team together. We were one of three Latino kids on this club team in Vegas called New Sport. And the one to the right, he and I went to high school together. His name is Jimmy Dominguez. He's a goalkeeper. Now, what's interesting, these are both El Salvadorian, American kids. But here we are in El Estadio Azteca, and this is a USA versus Mexico, U.S. men's national team versus Mexico game, World Cup qualifier, 2001. And
Wow.
if you could see, I'm actually holding that sweatshirt, I guess, top. You don't see the crest, but that's a U.S. crest right there.
I recognized the crest. As soon as I saw this picture, I was like, oh, yeah, Herc's wearing a U.S. soccer top there. And
Yeah.
it looks like your boy Jimmy Dominguez is wearing a USA hat. So it's not like you guys were hiding who you were at Estadio Azteca, right?
No, not at all. I want to say there was easily over 100,000 fans there. It was insane. I've never witnessed anything like it. People don't know, but like nowadays, you look at Estadio Azteca, and it feels much more corporate. It feels less intimate in the sense they're not on top of you. The NFL came into Estadio Azteca, came into Mexico, and they had certain requisites to be in the stadium. Like, yeah, we'll take the NFL, we'll take our games to Mexico, but the stadium, you've got to fix it. It's got to have premium seating. It's got to have box seats. It's got to have suites.
Right.
So they reduced capacity about 30,000 or so. So it feels less intimidating than it once did. But being there, I could tell you this is nosebleed seats, and it just felt insane to be part of it. It was the first time I got to see the U.S. men's national team up close. First time I got to see the Mexican national team up close like that. First time I'd ever been in Estadio Azteca.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's been to Estadio Azteca will tell you it doesn't matter if it's Pumas, America, or the Mexican national team. There's a sector where the fan bases used to sit, and they jump and they sing and whatnot, and you almost felt like that was vibrating. You almost felt like it was about to collapse. That's how impressive just the surroundings were back in the day. So this was me at 19 years of age, I think I was, with my two boys in Mexico City. We were all trying out in Mexico, trying to make soccer our dream.
So that was going to be the question: is did you go down to Mexico City for the game? What was why are you and your boys in Mexico?
Well, we're trying out. I'm trying to make this a business. I'm trying to make this my dream. I'm trying to make this something I could live off of. And, it was becoming increasingly more and more difficult at that time. I, at this moment, was playing in Águilas Blancas, the Puebla second division team in Puebla. Nothing to do with the first division team in Puebla that we see nowadays. Terrible setup and whatnot. These two guys are like bouncing around, training, doing stints here for trials, stints there for trials, find it increasingly difficult because they don't have a Mexican passport and whatnot, just trying to make their dream come true. But we all knew each other, and we got together in Mexico City for this game.
Okay, so you all came from different places because you were all in Mexico trying to get your careers off the ground. I guess let's go back, right? Let's go back to Vegas. Let's go back to when is Herculez Gomez thinking, okay, I'm going to go to Mexico. I'm going to try to make soccer my career. I'm going to go look for an opportunity there. When's that happening?
So when I knew I wanted to go play in Mexico or go try to make this an opportunity, was it was kind of made for me. And I remember
Okay.
looking around the setup. I mean, the first time I knew I wanted to play professional soccer was when I started getting paid for it. I remember playing club soccer, and you play on a Saturday, and I was like 15, about to turn 16, and my dad used to coach this men's league team in Vegas. And the way that men's soccer works, especially in a lot of these circles, is they're owned by restaurants, they're owned by like rich businessmen or whatever, and they compete. They don't want to lose. They want to win, and they invest. So some of these teams would invest in, like, I guess, these ringers, if you will. And I remember I was like 15, 16 years old, and I'm getting paid $100 a game to go play for these teams, and they would buy me cleats, they would buy me gear, they free food after. You'd have a good time, and I enjoyed it. So I started getting paid for it, and I started thinking to myself, like, this isn't so bad that I could, I want to do this. And it really became one of these things where, as I started getting later in my teenage years, junior, senior year, I started looking at the opportunities around me. I wasn't being scouted by any college team, any university. I wasn't playing ODP. I tried once. It was like $100 $100 a day mini camp fee, and I remember thinking to myself, I can't do this. It's what am I doing here? And started looking at players who were being recruited. Started looking at some of the avenues my club players, my club teammates were getting, and what they would do after: go to college here, go to college there. And
Yeah.
I started asking myself what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to play pro. And the only avenue at that moment, it was 1999 going to 2000, that I had, was making the move to Mexico and trying to play in a lower division. And I actually got to Pachuca, and it's not the Pachuca setup you see now. If you go to the Pachuca setup now, it's unbelievable. One of the best in the world. They got a full blown academy, a university. They combined it. The facilities are world class. They rival anybody in the world. I'm not kidding. But back then, it was a hangar, if you could say that.
Yeah.
And on each side of the hangar, there was bunk beds. So 12 on one side, 12 on the other, with like some showers and like a little like common area that you would eat, and then the soccer fields. And for 2 weeks, when I went on this tryout, that was my life. I ate, I slept, it was part of my air, my oxygen every single day. And it didn't work out because I didn't have a Mexican passport. But there was a scout from Cruz Azul, and they invited me to come out to Cruz Azul, and they put me up, food, housing. I was training for a good 3, 4 months, and that really became my life. I didn't sign there; it was just training. I didn't have a Mexican passport at the time,
Hmm.
but that gave me a taste for what Mexican football could be. But that's literally how I started playing in Mexico and kind of seeing, like, this is something feasible. This is 1999, 2000. I mean, MLS was 3 years old. Um, wasn't in my market. I was in Las Vegas. Back then, you had to go to college, enter the draft,
Yeah.
come out of the draft and be 22, 23 years old and get your first taste of professional soccer. I wanted it then. So it was the closest thing I could do.